Sahasranam are the same quality. Who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Who is the ultimate controller of the universe? Who should we worship and glorify to attain auspiciousness? Who is the ultimate destination of all living beings? See, these questions are absolute truth. Just the questions themselves, you see. This is why a lot of times, I'll joke with you about, you ask so many questions. Why this? Or who did it? How do I do that? Blah, blah, blah. Well, just the question itself is so wonderful that if you would meditate on it, the answer would come out automatically. You see? If you just think about it a little bit, just contemplate it. Huh? If you just contemplate this question, like, who is the ultimate destination? Well, of course, it's God, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Huh? If everybody thought about these things, then there wouldn't be such a great need for spiritual teachers and teachings and scriptures and temples and churches and all this stuff, because people would just naturally think, where am I going? What am I doing with my life? What is the purpose of my existence? Where am I supposed to go? What am I supposed to do? What is this all about? Huh? But because there is a huge propaganda establishment dedicated to distracting us from these questions with trivial questions, like, what am I going to do today? How am I going to eat today? Where do I have to go for my work today? What do I have to do today? What do I have to do tomorrow? Not ultimate questions, relative questions. Today, tomorrow, next week, like that. And so we get distracted from ultimate questions, and because we get distracted from them, we forget about them. We don't give them our attention, our time, our energy. And this is extremely unfortunate. There must be a department of knowledge in human society that addresses these questions. Even if you go to the church, they don't talk about these things. Huh? They simply talk about their dogma and their doctrine and different kind of rituals and stuff like that. They don't bring up the absolute truth. They don't bring up the ultimate questions of life. That's why what we're doing here is not a religion. It's not a ordinary sectarian faith. It's an esoteric school. Because it deals in ultimate questions, because it deals in absolute truth. Yeah, we do some rituals and we say some prayers and stuff like that. But we know from the very start that those are only preliminary, those are only external. And the real lesson or the real purpose of our study is to reach the absolute truth. So these wonderful prayers, Vishnu Sahasranam, composed entirely of names of God. They remind us of our real purpose, of our real goal, of our real nature. They help to keep us on track, help to keep us on course, like a beacon, like a lighthouse, like a marker on the trail that shows you, oh, here's where it goes, here, this way, that way, follow this. So when we keep our mind on God, when we follow the vibration of the holy name, that takes us to the destination, the ultimate goal of human life, which is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu or Krishna. So before I go on, are there any questions or any discussion from the folks here or there, participants? No question? No? Okay. No question from the folks online?
No.
Oh, that's easy, huh? Make my job easy today. Okay. The Nectar of Devotion by Śrīla Rupa Goswami, translated by Śrīla Prabhupada, Chapter 14, Devotional Qualifications. Some scholars recommend that knowledge and renunciation are important factors for elevating oneself to devotional service. But actually, that is not a fact. Actually, the cultivation of knowledge or renunciation, which are favorable for achieving a footing in Krishna consciousness, may be accepted in the beginning, but ultimately they may also come to be rejected. For devotional service is dependent on nothing other than the sentiment or desire for such service. It requires nothing more than sincerity. So in the beginning of devotional service, we're ignorant. We have no knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead or the spiritual world or the ways and means to reach them. So in the beginning, there's some education of transcendental knowledge. However, we can't become attached to this knowledge because no knowledge is complete. No knowledge is perfect. In the sense that no amount of knowledge, how much knowledge can be contained in a book? Even a very thick book really can't contain that much knowledge. There's an unlimited amount of things to know about God. God is unlimited. So any book is limited by its very nature. Nobody can write an unlimited book. Nobody could write a book that would describe all the possibilities of devotional service. At some point, we have to actually practice it ourselves. And Krishna has to reveal himself from within. Just reading a book won't get it. It won't bring us to the goal that we want to attain. We have to practice devotional service, and when we practice it, then Krishna enlightens us from within. He says in Bhagavad-gītā, I, dwelling within their hearts, destroy with the lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. He doesn't say, you read a book and that destroys the darkness of ignorance. No, because a book can't possibly express everything there is to know about Krishna. Only Krishna can do that himself. So we have to be brought into direct contact with Krishna through our devotional service. If somebody asks, how can I do that? You can't do that. You can't. You have to simply qualify yourself, and then Krishna will do it. Krishna will reveal himself. He's the only one who has the power. Just like if you say, I'm going to figure out what Babaji is thinking. And then you have all these different methods of, augury. We'll do the astrology, we'll do the numerology, we'll throw dice, that's what we do. Somehow or other you're trying to, and I'm just sitting here going, anti-disestablishmentarianism. You'll never figure it out. You'll never figure out what I'm thinking. Only if I tell you, then you'll know. Because why? Our consciousnesses are individual. We're individuals. So you can't know the contents of my consciousness unless I tell you. So, similarly, Krishna is also an individual. We can't know what's on his mind unless he tells us. So how do we know what Krishna has in mind for us? How do we know what Krishna wants from us? How do we know how we're going to satisfy Krishna? Only if he tells us. See? My realization is that Krishna creates every living entity for a specific purpose in his service. A specific service function that only you can do. So your task is to discover what is that function. What is that thing? What is that, the qualities that you possess that are actually you, that are eternal. And that Krishna made, that genetically engineered you, especially to offer to him as your eternal service. What are those qualities that are so baked in so deeply to your consciousness that you couldn't change them even if your life depended on it? Huh? That's the real you. And that is the way Krishna created you, just for his service. And if you engage those qualities in his service, he'll be very satisfied. So you have to figure that out. And you can only know that if Krishna reveals it to you. You can't know it because there's no way to tell, from our point of view, which of our qualities are temporary and which are eternal, which are relative and which are absolute. There's no way to know. Krishna has to reveal that by revealing his relationship with you. And only he can do that. So that means we have to attain Krishna consciousness, direct consciousness of Krishna. Otherwise, there's no meaning to the idea of self-realization.